Hello everyone, Luba here from New York City. Today it's going to be another lesson with me. I wanted to show you how to apply foundation, how do I like to apply foundation, and just answer a couple questions that I've heard from you, my clients and friends. So I want to start with my skincare and show you how I like to apply it. Again, it's not about the products that I use or it's not about recommending a product. I'm just going to use what I have at home. This is a little bit of lip balm. I have a mirror here next to me. My lips feel a little dry. They usually do. I try to gently exfoliate prior that. So after I wash my face, I use a face toner because the face toner prepares your skincare to penetrate better, and it's usually pH balance, which balances the natural acidity of your skin, which is calming. I like the spray bottles, so it is wonderful. I already did that. You can see I have eye makeup on from earlier, and now I'm gonna apply just a couple drops of serum. Something that I purchased from a like a healthier skincare. It's called Zahara Vitamin Serum from Native Atlas. Maybe you can see it better from a distance. So a couple drops of that, put it directly just on my fingertips. This part of your hand tends to absorb a lot of the product, so I'm just gonna press it lightly into the skin. I don't like to put too much on my oily zone and upwards when it comes to the neck. Always apply the rest in the back of your palm. Trust me, they also need it. And now I'm gonna apply a little bit of light cream. I like to use oil-free when it comes to to makeup because the oil dissolves everything. I have plenty of oil into my skin naturally. I use One Love Organics Skin Dew. It's really wonderful. Very, very light. A little bit from my left side with the right hand. So this is how I like to apply my creams, always upwards. And I can dab a little more on the rest of the face. My forehead, I usually don't even go there. It gets oily easier. All right. So, of course, foundation always looks better and it blends better and it's applied better and easier when you have a moisturizer on. I tend to do that, then do my eye makeup for a few minutes, and that allows the moisturizer to penetrate. If you want your moisturizer to penetrate faster, just kind of massage it a little longer. I always like to go in that direction rather than bringing the skin down. And you can use a primer or just your moisturizer can be a primer depending on your skin type. You probably have experienced and you know if your skin absorbs a lot of makeup, then primer, it's definitely a good thing. So I'm using, actually it's not a primer, but it's a skin hydrator glow formula by Kiehl's. It's really wonderful. And for that, because it's like a moisturizer, I can use my fingers, but I just have like a nice thick foundation brush. I'm gonna go lightly, mainly on the side of my face where I need it the most. So everything is smooth and beautiful. There'll be a little blush in there. Always goes on better when you have the primer. Fill in my pores a little bit. And the reason I go in one direction only, it's because the pores of your face kind of grow this way, and I feel like I don't want to fill them in with makeup. Skincare should always go and get into the pores, yes, but when it comes to makeup, it's better to do it in one direction so it's applied evenly. And I don't rub too much. I don't go over it again and again and again too much, because what that does, it tends to start to remove it at one point. And also you want to save time. So you should choose your foundation depending on the coverage that you need. You know, what do you need it for? Are you going to be photographed? I'm using just a very light formula. It's called Luminous Silk, so it kind of looks like skin. It really looks wonderful, by Giorgio Armani. So I'm going to put a little bit on my brush. You can, of course, use your beauty blender, just wet it prior that. It applies it much, much better. And also, what I like to do to make my cheekbones a little more naturally chiseled, it's like to put a little bit of a contour before my foundation. This way it kind of melts in. I feel like it acts a little faster. So I have like a nice big palette by Bobbi Brown. I'm just gonna use like a not too dark of a brown. I'm just gonna put it a little bit right where I want it. And on a daily basis, you really have to use much less, and you also don't have that much time to do too much. I'm gonna use my mirror, make sure, put it exactly what I want it. And sometimes you use a stick, it might be more convenient. So you can see I don't really draw a line, because looking at your face sideways, the cheekbone naturally already has that curve. So I just kind of like want to accentuate that a little bit and bring it a little bit to the center of the face, rather than having a strong line coming all the way. I really don't think that's necessary. I think it looks much better if you just kind of put it right under the tip, like right where the hole of the cheekbone is, and kind of bring it a little bit to the front. So this way, look in your face from the front, it looks like you have nice cheekbone, but then when you look at it from the side, you don't have that brown long line that, you know, looks like painted. You just want everything to blend in, like it's your natural bone structure. And your face already, it's not a flat surface, so it's very important how you move your brush around. It looks very, very different on photos, and most of the photos that you see are, you know, the face is like straight, rather than angled. So you should always pay attention to that. You can take photographs of yourself as well when you do your makeup. So because you want everything to be balanced, especially with a face like mine that is just a little wider, I like to contour everything to keep it all together. So if you look at right where the temple is, right here, and the jawline, the cheekbone, it's kind of like right in the center of that. So that's like a good way to measure it if you can determine exactly where it is. In the temple, it's like right in here. So this is where you want to put a little bit of shadow. And of course into the hairline. So now everything is a little more balanced. On the other side, I know I have my bangs falling a little bit, but still it will look better if I do that, just to kind of lift it up. And of course, the direction, it's also determined by your jawline, so everything should kind of follow the same angle. And I always want to shade a little bit in here, just to show a little more contour. That's what makes us look younger. It's because with age, we lose the contour of our face. I always like to put a little bit on the neck, just like that. So it elongates everything a little bit. Always step back from your mirror. It's always a good idea to see that. I apologize if the light is not perfect, but I hope me talking to you kind of helps with your decision making. So another thing that I like to do, and that's only when I have time, otherwise what's following, I'm going to show you how to do it quickly with just a bronzer. Another thing that I like to do is to put a little bit of my highlighter, my creamy highlighter prior, and it's just the tip of the cheekbone, really. And I like to finish it like right in the center. Another way to determine where that is exactly, it's with your concealer. So I wanted to show you how to use more concealer to cover like more darkness under the eyes. And concealer brushes could be anything that looks like that. They just thin out at the end. This is just the foundation, could be used as a concealer or blending or smaller version of that brush. This is a nice double-sided bristle This is more like a spot concealer. It's great for spots, but this one is very good to concentrate the application of the concealer just in one area. So again, I'm using a palette. You can use solid formula when you want more coverage, and you can simply buy a palette with 2, 3, 4 colors, or you can also purchase 2, 3 different pots of concealer. So this is where I needed the most. And when I was talking about highlighter and concealer, they should meet as a triangle, like right in here. This dark line, you can always determine when you look like that in your mirror, and you can always determine where it is. It's because the skin transforms from more layers to less layers, like right into this line where the eye socket starts. So it's always dark in there. And then there is a little bit of darkness right on the outside corner. So I like to kind of blend my concealer into my highlighter right in there, and the rest of it is just blending in between. Finger, sponge, brush, anything. So if you want more coverage, start with a color that it's a bit darker, a bit warmer, and then apply your light color with the technique I taught you. So I'm just going to use like a little bit of more peachy tone in the middle that will absorb that blue undertone, brighten the under eye a little better. If you put heavier concealer, you should definitely go darker in the color, because the heavier the concealer and the lighter the color, you're gonna look more ashy under the eye. So I think that looks really nice, and we'll actually even it out at the end with the foundation. If you want heavier coverage, again with the concealer, just use solid formula concealer without foundation as a base under the eyes. That will dilute your concealer. So when I look up, I can see from here to here that's pretty evened out. You can see it as well. There is no blue undertones in there. Undertones, I apologize. But yeah, the main thing it was really to blend that highlighter and concealer together. Right in here, you always want to lighten the inside corner the most and kind of brighten it in here, so it will complement the highlighting and of course the cheekbone. When we highlight and then we contour, rather than either one or the other, it's actually more sculpting. So you can go more with whichever you prefer. Sometimes the contour can be a little too obvious for daily makeup, so just highlight more. Again, let's go with the foundation on top. I try to blend the foundation on my brush before that, either on my hand or with the foundation. So this way, instead of rubbing it into my skin, it's already blended a little bit, so it goes much lighter and much easier on the face. And bigger brushes cover bigger areas, so if you want it to be fast, that's a great option. And also, you can see I don't press, I don't go in every different direction. It's more like from the center out and then down, just to smooth everything. If you have a little fuzz or like larger pores, you always want to do it this way to kind of smooth everything out. Another thing is you protect your brush when you don't press, and you always want, see the bristle has like different length, every brush has that. Contour brush, powder brush, bronzer brush. So the point that your brush should reach the skin, it's really this way. It's never this way. This way you only break the bristle of your brush. So always go where like sideways, the way that the bristles are cut, the angle of the brush. And you'll find that it applies much better. All right. So where I need a little more coverage, I'm just gonna dab a teeny bitty more foundation. With oilier skin, like mine, there's always more oil in the center, so I would just apply a little more foundation there. And there's always more redness. And also, the oil, you don't realize, but it's a bit darker, so it will darken your foundation. That's why I don't like to use darker foundation. I prefer to darken with a bronzer. Well, I'm using a loose powder. This happens to be La Mer's loose powder, which Has tiny, tiny specks of gold, which are wonderful. It just makes the skin a little more vibrant rather than flat. And I'm gonna use actually a flat brush for that because I like to show you something. You can use a puff, you can use your beauty blender, of course, nothing wrong with that. With the flat powder brush, I kind of like to press it into that foundation. So this way, it will set it a little better. It will intensify that pigment a little bit. So this is translucent powder. This wonderful. A smaller brush for under the eyes. Something that it's soft and fluffy like that. Also, just a little bit. So now, after I apply it, I kind of keep removing the excess off. All right, after my base is on, my face is nice and smooth. I'm gonna use blush and a bronzer, and I actually, like I said, I don't want to use, I could have used a little bit of cream blush prior, but let me just show you. Yeah, what I wanted to say, it's like it doesn't matter if you're going to use blush or bronzer first. It really doesn't. It's more like where you're going to place it. So if I want to use my bronzer, this is a flat bronzer by Bobbi Brown. If I want to use my bronzer as a contour, it's better to pick up the flat formula. And I'm just going to use it with an angled fluffed brush. For a contour, if you want it to be a little softer, you should use more like a rounder brush like that. It could be a little bit bigger as well. So where you place it first is where you're going to get the most pigment. I always want that to be in the front, and then I'm going to fade it out and kind of like take the brush off of my face rather than draw a line. Again, you don't want that to happen for your daytime look. And just blend the rest out. You can always add more. It's always better to put a little less just to mark where you want it and then add more. It's much harder to blend it on your face if you have too much on your brush. Again, you can see the brush goes like slightly angled. It's never too harsh. I never press into the skin. It's just it looks uneven. All right, so this is when you want it more contoured, but if you want it with a bigger brush, if you want it a little all over the nose, you should, pat it like everywhere like that. If you have dark circles, put more bronzer. Trust me, it's gonna make it to look much lighter under the eyes, and just continue on the perimeter. It's kind of easy to work with a big brush, and then you can concentrate a little more pigment. You can also use dry contour instead of bronzer. I have a whole contour palette with all the colors in here. So it's important to have powder, because if you put it directly on the on top of a wet foundation, it will be very, very hard to blend it and make it even. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of blush, and I'm gonna use just a small blush brush. This is a nice combination of Pink and Peach by Charlotte Tilbury. Again, don't overload your brush too much. I kind of like shake off the excess on the mirror on my hand, or I don't want it thrown on my carpet, to be honest. So to determine where to put blush, you should kind of try to move your face when you do it. I mean, if you stay steady like that, it's a good option, but what we tend to do when we're out and about, we talk to people, you really don't want your blush to be into the fine lines. It will concentrate the color that it will look like a like a spot, and you really want to avoid that area. You also wanted it to be like a natural flush. So this is where the apple is, and this is where the natural flush occurs. So you should work on that area, put as much as you want. If your blush tends to disappear throughout the day, there is nothing wrong with putting more. On me, my skin, it's a little sallow, so it really eats color, and I know in about 10-15 minutes all this blush will kind of melt in. That's why sometimes I put the cream blush first and then I put this one on top. It looks much better. So you also don't want the blush to be too much all the way, so kind of fade it into that bronzer. And if you want to blend it and fade it, just do it with powder. I'm going to use a little bit of highlighter. There's another compact I have here. This is pretty. It's by Chanel. It's a bronzer and highlighter in one. So for that, I'm going to use a very light highlighter brush, like a flat thin brush like that, and just go right over. I like to put that highlighter at the end. It's really wonderful. Do the nose, the cupid bow, and if you wanted to contour your nose, you could have done that with your concealer prior. I said concealer because I like to put a little bit of concealer in the center and then the contour color. I usually don't do that for the daytime unless I know I'm gonna go somewhere for a long period of time and I'm gonna be photographed. So another thing that I wanted to show you earlier is, if you see right here on my eye, while I was applying my mascara, I smeared a little bit on the top and I left it to dry, because if you try to remove it when it's fresh, it's gonna be all black all over. This way with the Q-tip, it just comes off once when it's dry. So another thing, I'm gonna use a little bit of my lip liner, and I applied already the Aquaphor, so I'm gonna just take off the excess. So tuck your lip together, absorb just what's on the edges, and again, you don't want to layer too much. You can use a waterproof concealer in that area to keep your eyeliner and lipstick in place. I just like to pat a little bit of powder. All right, so that's a little protective layer in there. And actually, it's easy to apply liner when you have something on your lips because it goes on smoother. But because this time I'm going to use a stain, you know, we're using face masks so much that your lipstick never lasts. So a stain, it's a good option. This one, it's by MAC, and it's called Cream Lip Stain. So it comes in various of colors. I'm going to use a little bit of that before. The stains really kind of stain your skin. So put it nicely all over my lower lip. If I had the pencil on too much, it wouldn't take. And now I'm going to go ahead and just stamp it on the top. This way you apply a little less. Now I'm going to do the same thing, tuck my lip together, use my tissue. Just remove the excess from the edges and even it out. Adding the pencil, which goes very smooth. If you use waterproof formula, it will be great. It just goes on much easier. Now, I feel like it's a little too much in the center. It looks better and better, and of course we can layer it with a little bit of lipstick on top if we like. So again, I hope you learned something today. I'm going to keep answering questions, and I'm going to do some more videos for eye makeup and tips. Thank you.